Good morning, Josh's severe weather. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we are just getting started with tornado season here, and we're going to be dealing with tornado emergencies again later this week into the weekend across the plains into parts of the deep south. Just a very hyperactive storm season expected here as we continue to transition out of La Nina into El Nino, and we see warmer than average Gulf of Mexico waters fueling intense storms, lots of rain down south, and significant severe weather. So we've got some severe weather to start this week in some places that just don't want to see any more, but perhaps a bigger outbreak looming here again towards the end of this week into the weekend. I'm going to share my screen with you and show you all what we're talking about here. A huge tornado threat likely to take place Thursday in the southern plains and especially Friday evening in parts of Dixie Alley here, northern Mississippi, western Tennessee, northern Alabama, and eastern Arkansas are the areas I'm highlighting for the greatest chance to see a strong tornado. But that doesn't mean anybody else in this region could not see severe wind, hail, and certainly a stronger tornado. In fact, that threat could continue into Saturday across the Carolinas and the Southeast, and maybe even a wind threat all the way into western New York into the lower Great Lakes. There are going to be some spots in Iowa that could be under the gun for severe weather on Thursday and then could have snow by Friday morning, as a very intense jet stream is going to be tracking across the country. That's going to slide down the west coast and bring some rain into northern Cal and into the Bay Area, and very heavy mountain snow once again for the Sierra and the interior of the West. And then that snowstorm will ramp up by the time it gets into the Dakotas and northern Nebraska at the end of the week and into the Great Lakes and eastern Canada over the weekend. So I'm not going to say you heard it here first. We've been talking about this being what's going to be one of the more active tornado seasons on record, but this is certainly going to be yet another major outbreak as we ring out the month of March, going out like a lion, not a lamb, and beginning April 1st with potentially more severe weather on the East Coast. And there'll be more severe weather after this big storm coming in. In fact, I've got my eyes on yet another storm the following week towards the 4th and 5th of April, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that yet. Let's just deal with one at a time. So here is the GFS model, which I'm not going to say has done a great job, but it is certainly picking up on our features here the way we need to see them. We have one storm moving through the Northeast this morning. It'll bring some wet snow to the higher terrain here of New York and Pennsylvania into New England. Not a big snowfall. We're in late March here. It's coming during the daytime and early evening. The pavement's going to be mostly wet on most of your roadways, but something we're going to be watching here. We have a stalled front on the Gulf Coast, and that is going to serve as the focus for a lot more rain here over the next couple of days and additional severe weather potentially. A few tornadoes in here, certainly, but also some large hail and strong winds look like they'll be possible. And I'm going to break that down a little bit more. We get a bit of a break here in the southeast by the time we get to Wednesday and Thursday. However, we've got another storm off of the west coast of California that is getting ready to wreak havoc on much of the country. You'll see it moves into the west here on Thursday morning, and then we've got a lot of warm air spreading northward, fast winds out of the south and southwest, and a huge storm getting ready to get going here Thursday night with isolated severe weather. It looks like Friday is going to be our peak day for severe weather here as we deal with a deepening cyclone over Nebraska and Iowa. There will likely be some tornadoes out of this, especially later Friday and Friday night. And that looks like it's going to be right here across parts of the South, once again, just north of the area that got hit last Friday night. We'll also see winter weather here on the northern side of this storm, maybe even blizzard conditions over the Superior region into central parts of Minnesota. The low pressure system is varying a bit on some of the models. Some have it a little farther south, some a little farther north, but get ready for that. And that is going to move eastward on Saturday into the southeast. And this slightly slower time frame puts Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, southeast Alabama, and maybe even southeastern Virginia at risk for tornadoes this upcoming Saturday. So that is also something I'm concerned about for April 1st, Saturday afternoon and early evening, all the way down to the southeast coast. In the northeast, the warm air is going to be fleeting as it turns colder, and we see some lake snows and some higher elevation snows for Saturday night, Sunday morning. That moves out of here. We have another storm invading the western U.S. early the following week. That will be the 3rd and 4th. And you can see this storm track should look kind of similar to you guys. A deep low pressure system bringing wintry weather to the north central U.S., and then as we get into the 5th and 6th, we see yet again severe weather anywhere from Texas and Louisiana on up into the Great Lakes and then eastward into Dixie Alley here. Again, certainty level on this one is not going to be as high as we get farther into the future, but certainly looks like we're going to be dealing with something pretty significant. Here is the storm. I'll go past that here. Here's the storm prediction forecast for today. Storm Prediction Center. Slight risk of severe weather over central and southern Georgia into the low country of South Carolina, but there could be severe weather all the way back into Texas and Louisiana. We'll take a look more at that. I think it's going to be tonight. And potentially more storms in North Carolina. I know here in Raleigh, I'm a little sleep weary because we got hit with a storm around 2:30 in the morning. Our fourth thunderstorm since early in the day yesterday, but areas farther south are getting hit harder. South Carolina, Georgia, and Alabama are dealing with flooding, dealing with severe weather, all kinds of nastiness. And a couple days ago, this was modeled as a marginal risk. We're now seeing significant tornado activity in parts of Georgia, and that could spread into South Carolina today. Tomorrow, I'm watching the Gulf Coast, especially Louisiana through western Florida. I think this could get upgraded to a slight risk for severe weather. Maybe not a lot of tornadoes, but certainly large hail and locally strong winds in this region. As I pull this up for you, you can see the tornado risk tomorrow is only about 2%. The wind risk is a little bit higher at 5%. And the hail risk is mainly confined to the central Gulf states. As we get to day 3, that's Wednesday, we get somewhat of a quieter day down south as that front pushes into the Gulf finally. And that's where the models had it a few days ago, but it's taken forever to do that. As the Gulf waters have been winning this battle here. We've got our next storm moving on to California here Wednesday. I would not be shocked to see a little bit of severe weather around the Bay Area down to about Monterey. We'll keep an eye on that for you guys. But Wednesday should be our quietest day of the week. And then as we get to Thursday, we do see later in the afternoon, especially at night, potentially some hail and locally strong winds forming on our dry line here Thursday evening. But then Friday looks to be a major severe weather day, 30% all the way up to the Illinois and Wisconsin border, eastern Iowa, and down certainly through St. Louis, Cape Girardeau, central Arkansas, northwestern Mississippi, western Tennessee. I do think that this area is pretty well highlighted now. I think it's only going to grow from here, and this is going to be at least a moderate risk day. And I would not be completely shocked if it weren't a high risk day down in here, especially northwestern Mississippi, eastern Arkansas, western Tennessee. I would say ground zero would be somewhere around Batesville, Mississippi, Memphis, Tennessee, or Jonesboro, Arkansas. Again, this is 5 days out, so there will be some changes. But if you're traveling Friday evening, this is going to be the time frame you really have to be watching for strong tornadoes. Day 6, the Storm Prediction Center does not have an area outlined yet. However, I think they should across the southeast, and that is something I'll be watching for you guys here in the coming days. And of course, they don't have anything Sunday or Monday, but we'll see more after that. I'll show you guys the jet stream here, and you can see why things are super active. Let me zip this forward for you guys to the latest model. And you can see still a ribbon of very fast winds crossing the Ohio River Valley. That is contributing to our northern system, but there's enough wind aloft here for severe weather on the Gulf Coast. Now, what I want you to focus on, though, is this huge circulation moving down the coast of California. You see a ridge builds right back into the southern plains. This means warmer than average temperatures return here Wednesday and Thursday ahead of our next storm. Fast winds aloft over the southwest Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. As we head into Friday, that storm ejects onto the northern plains. This is Friday evening, and we see very fast flow out of the southwest, which will contribute to the environment that produces tornadoes, unfortunately, here. And it looks like the area on the eastern side of this is the area that we have to be watching. And I think Friday night, after it gets dark out, is when things come alive, which unfortunately is not what you want to hear. Nighttime tornadoes are what we've seen most recently, and that's why we've had all the fatalities. And unfortunately, there are a lot of folks in here that do not have the means to do a whole lot about it. Sure, you can get the warnings, but what are you going to do when you're in your home Friday night and it gets leveled by a tornado? Just be prepared, have helmets, have a storm shelter, have a plan in place. Just do what you can if you're in this region now. I mean, the likelihood of any one particular spot getting hit, especially on a 6-day forecast, is super low. But it's not zero, and I want everybody here to be prepared because lives are important to me. This is why I do what I do. I'm driven by my calling here to help save lives, and I really hope that you take this seriously because this has a look of a serious outbreak in progress here for Friday night. And as we get into Saturday, the fact that this upper level low, instead of moving northeastward like the last one, is moving eastward means that we get that fast flow aloft Saturday into the southeast, and we are not done with severe weather yet. Just because we're cleaning up the mess here in the Mississippi Valley, I don't think we're done yet here across the southeast on Saturday. So be prepared for potentially more tornadoes, and that could include places like Augusta, Georgia, Columbia, Charlotte, Raleigh, even down to Dothan, Alabama, Valdosta. I would be prepared for that, and I'll get into more details in the coming days. You see, there's yet another big storm moving into California the following week, 3rd and 4th, and that looks like it's going to repeat the cycle here in the plains on the 5th, and then farther east on the 6th. And we have a big ridge in place over the east, so this might not include the southeast this time, but it certainly looks like the Mississippi Valley into the lower Great Lakes could get hit again the following week. So things are definitely looking pretty busy. Here is a look at the satellite, and you guys can see kind of where things have come alive here over the last day or so. I'm going to put this in motion. It's going to be a pretty fast loop for you guys. But we got crushed yesterday in Texas and Louisiana, and then Jackson, Mississippi got hit with numerous storms, very large hail, and some tornado warnings. And you can see for a front that was just dangling across the region, it didn't take a lot of wind aloft to get things going, but things very quickly got going here with a mesoscale convective system, and everything just grew and grew. And then last night we got hammered with flooding, severe weather, hail, and even a few isolated tornadoes. Now, as we look farther east, this is the zone that really has taken it on the chin here. Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. Multiple complexes of storms have gotten going. Early in the morning yesterday, Troup County in Georgia, around LaGrange and West Point, got hit with a strong tornado. That area is under the gun right now, and you can see why. Just multiple clusters of storms going over the same spots. And the radar shows that we've had amounts of over 8 inches of rain. Now, if you're cleaning up from a strong tornado, and you've got severe thunderstorm warnings in the area and then 8-9 inches of rain on the ground, that really is a worst case scenario. Fortunately, I'm not hearing reports of people trapped in homes like they were in northern Mississippi on Friday night. However, there are a lot of places that got leveled with the tornado that hit yesterday morning here just east of the border with Alabama, southwest of Atlanta, and they are continuing to have tornado warnings and heavy rain flooding over the same region. You can see on the radar here, it is not coming to an end. Very hard to do storm recovery when you have multiple storms going over and over the same place with lightning strikes, with heavy rainfall and washed out roadways. And unfortunately, there's more rain behind it going all the way back to the 65 corridor around Clanton, Alabama. And that rain is going to continue to move eastward here with lots of lightning. So there will be a few places here within these two green polygons that do pick up about a foot of rain between yesterday morning and about this afternoon before things quiet down after that. So the area of greatest concern right now is a tornado warning we have near Thomaston, Georgia, and east of Macon we have a severe thunderstorm warning around the Milledgeville area, which got hit by a tornado yesterday morning. And unfortunately for these folks, it's just one after another. There's really no reprieve from the weather that we're getting. So I'm very concerned for you guys, and I'm praying for your safety as well, because trust me, it's not easy to go out there with a forecast like this knowing that people are getting impacted and lives are changing here. So very dangerous setup here tonight. You got to watch for flooded roadways. I would just recommend you stay home and be prepared for more bad weather. All right, so let's take a look at the coming days here. We can see the supercell indices on the GFS model, and they're not super high over the next couple of days, but the Gulf Coast region certainly has to be watched. But as we get into Thursday night, and this is around midnight Thursday night, Friday morning, things start getting loaded up here from Texas into southern Nebraska, and then spreading all the way into Iowa Friday morning, and then redeveloping over East Texas. Now, Friday around 4 o'clock Central, the greatest threat for supercell storms to get cranking is over northeastern Louisiana and southern Arkansas. We could, though, have a few supercells all the way up to the east of Des Moines and towards Iowa City and Cedar Rapids, Iowa, ending in the evening. So you have one area that kind of explodes and then starts to fade. The next area, though, is the area to watch here, and that is the Mississippi Delta region, western Tennessee. Just a lot of fast winds in here. And then, oh, by the way, as things quiet down slowly, I think there'll still be some tornadoes on the ground in the morning on Saturday, maybe across Alabama, northwestern Georgia. But things start getting going again, and we have that threat for severe weather over the eastern Great Lakes region, and especially across eastern Alabama, central Georgia, and then spreading into the Carolinas Saturday afternoon. I think we have to watch for some tornadoes at this point in the Midlands of South Carolina, maybe getting into the PD region, and then also spreading up into what we call Carolina Alley, basically Raleigh on southward to about Lumberton. and eastward, I would be concerned for a few tornadoes in this region as well. But this is just one model. Certainly it could change, but it is an area that we have to be focused on. And then things should quiet down in time for Sunday. We may have some weather to watch across central Florida, but nothing major at that point. Here's the European, and you can see all the lightning strikes. Finally, things are clearing out of central Georgia, but things get going again on the Gulf Coast. And southern Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi get hammered hard, and I think we'll have storms tomorrow afternoon, evening in northern Florida. Maybe not quite to Orlando, but getting close to that area, certainly Ocala north and eastward. And then things are somewhat quiet until we get into Thursday night. And again, we're cranking things out. Friday morning, multiple waves of severe weather and flooding storms over the Ohio River Valley. And then here's our big part of our storm, Iowa down into Texas. And this is Friday afternoon around 5, 6 o'clock. Friday night, you can see it looks like maybe a supercell track here into northwest Mississippi. The area got hit really hard down here, so this is a little farther north, but it could shift. And then as we continue this through Friday night, it continues into western Georgia, northern and central Alabama, central Mississippi, including Jackson. And of course, Kentucky is not going to be immune from potential heavy rain, flooding, and isolated severe weather here late Friday night, early Saturday morning. And then here Saturday afternoon, and we continue to see storms all the way on the Gulf Coast, down into Louisiana, Mississippi, and especially this area I'm most concerned with by Saturday afternoon, Saturday night. Then things should move offshore, and Sunday is still active on the Gulf Coast. This should look kind of familiar. It looks just like yesterday did, kind of the same areas. We've got a storm track that is active. We've got leftover moisture, a lingering boundary, and again, we've got to watch parts of Dixie Alley here for more potential severe weather. Here's the HRRR model showing you the threat for the strongest storms today into tonight. Looks like central Georgia and then evolving farther south and east into southern Alabama and southwestern Georgia. Maybe a little bit of locally strong wind over South Carolina into southeastern North Carolina. And then tomorrow, more additional storms over southern Mississippi, southern Louisiana, and even southeast Texas, including the Houston area. So we're definitely going to be a little bit concerned about that. You can see the lightning density here. Things are kind of moving out of the Carolinas. Next wave moves into South Carolina this afternoon from Georgia. And we see yet another wave overnight and especially tomorrow morning across southern Louisiana, Mississippi, and then advancing eastward into the Florida Panhandle and eventually getting into northern Florida tomorrow afternoon and maybe getting close to Orlando tomorrow evening. And then a quieter day expected on Wednesday. We'll skip past that. Let's take a closer look here at the Carolinas. And we'll get back to the HRRR. Storms moving off the coast here this morning. We will see additional storms popping up late in the afternoon west of Raleigh and Charlotte. Could have some hail out of these on the east side of Charlotte into the triangle here early tonight, 6, 7 o'clock. Those will move east into the eastern Carolinas, southeast Virginia this evening, and then they move out. And then we should have quieter weather after that. Farther south, though, Georgia and South Carolina just continue to get deluged here with extreme amounts of heavy rain and localized severe weather. I think east of Macon, southwestern Georgia, Statesboro, all the way to about Charleston, Beaufort, South Carolina, Bluffton this afternoon and especially this evening will be under the gun for localized severe weather. And that will spread off of the region here, and more storms expected here over far southern Georgia tomorrow, late morning into the afternoon hours. Taking a look farther south and east, we do get a break in Jackson, Mississippi. Everything's going to be down in southern Alabama and northwest Florida through this afternoon into early tonight. But another wave expected to form on the Gulf Coast tonight and spread eastward. And we have more severe storms likely over southwestern Mississippi, then heading into southeastern Mississippi in the morning. So overnight storms in southern Mississippi spreading eastward into southern Alabama and western Florida before things quiet down after that. And then taking a look a little bit farther east in Louisiana, we can see things quiet for most of today, and then we'll see storms popping up south of I-10 here this afternoon and really late this afternoon to early this evening. And then things will get going here, spreading northeastward tonight. More storms popping up around Houston and Beaumont, as well as Lake Charles, Lafayette, New Iberia, and then spreading eastward with severe weather expected tomorrow around the New Orleans area, Slidell, Covington, Mandeville, Madisonville, and then spreading into Gulfport here later tomorrow morning before finally moving out in time for tomorrow afternoon. A very active time indeed. And snow is going to be a big deal as well out west. Nothing new here. We're going to see several feet over the Sierra Nevada and also at least 1.5 to 2 feet over the Utah mountain ranges as well. just staying very active right on into the weekend. We will probably see a pretty snowy April, I think, over the Rockies and even the Sierra Nevada once again. As we track eastward here, we see lighter amounts of snow across interior New England here the next 2 days. An inch or two may stick. But then as we get into the second part of the week, we see snow piling up here over northern and then eventually central parts of Minnesota, northern parts of Wisconsin, where a foot will be possible, and then a few more inches expected over the weekend on the backside of our potential severe weather here for late Friday night in New England, and then Saturday and Saturday night across the interior of the Northeast all the way down into West Virginia. And I did want to show you guys Canada here real quick, and actually Eastern Canada. Let me do that for you. If it'll let me. I don't know if it will. Centimeters. It's got U.S. regions. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. St. Lawrence. And you all can see here, this is going to be another huge snow for parts of Quebec and also northern parts of New Brunswick and getting back into Ontario as well. Most of this will be around Marathon, Thunder Bay on eastward into parts of northwestern Quebec. A pretty big snow expected. So, oh man, I really hate to be the person that just jumps out at you with hype, but this is a very active storm season. And we've talked about this for a while. There are scientific reasons why. And just know that my thoughts and prayers are with everybody that is impacted by the severe weather. It's a lot of people. Troup County, Georgia has been hit twice with tornadoes, and they're not done yet, I don't think. And of course, I'm praying for the folks in Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee that lost their homes, and many that lost family members and friends with the strong tornadoes from Friday night. Unfortunately, more on tap here in the future couple of weeks. And I will, of course, keep you guys posted. As soon as I see a big threat, you'll know about it. Please like this video if you could, share with your friends, subscribe to my channel for more. And I also have updates on my Facebook page as well. Thank you so much for watching today. I want to thank you for your time. I want to give all the glory to God who allows me to do this. And, we've been studying 1 Peter in my Bible class, and 1 Peter 4:7-10. The end of the world is coming soon. I'm going to repeat that. The end of the world is coming soon. Therefore, be earnest and disciplined in your prayers. Most important of all, continue to show deep love for each other, for love covers a multitude of sins. Cheerfully share your home with those who need a meal or a place to stay. God has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. And I read this verse all the time, knowing that I have the spiritual gift of sharing weather safety with everybody, but also just opening my heart to others who need prayer in this difficult time, knowing that the end of the world's coming soon, and soon maybe 1,000 years from now, and maybe a lot sooner than that. We don't know. That's up to God. But he sent his son Jesus to die for our sins. As we pray and talk to him and show love for others, then we can certainly be forgiven, covering that multitude of sins that we all have had. So be cheerful in your faith. If you're not a believer, then I am happy to pray for you. I was not a believer up until about 10 years ago, but I was shown the love by Christian people of God, and I was shown Jesus Christ, and I want to share that to you because that is a huge, huge gift, really the only gift that matters in the end. So I'm happy to pray for you. God bless you all. I hope you have a great week. Be safe, and I will have another update for you guys tomorrow morning. God bless you.